Indian settlement. It was the settlement of our Assiniboine residents on the west end of the reservation. We now know that the original remains of the city of Wolf Point is now, most of them are in the river. There's a few other areas that aren't in the river. But I think it's an important point in our history. And even though currently the tribes aren't located in Wolf Point, it does play a big history, part in our history.
Sure.
Okay, I'm Merle Lucas. I'm an enrolled member of the Sioux tribe on this reservation. I'm a resident of Wolf Point, Montana. I previously served in the capacity as Coordinator of Indian Affairs for the state of Montana for 11 years. I also served in the capacity of the Executive Director of the Montana Intertribal Policy Board for 4 years. I returned to Wolf Point in 1977 to get involved in tribal government. I am currently serving in my second term as a member of the Executive Board of the Assiniboine and Sioux Tribes. I'm also serving as the Chairman of the Board of Directors for the Wolf Point Community Organization in the operation of its casino and its Great Divide Manufacturing Company, which has produced employment for some of the tribal members who are members of the Wolf Point community.
When you've spent a lot of time in the state, around the state, seen a lot. What do you feel, just your personal view of, I guess the future generally of the tribes in the state and where things are going? How do you see that? Say the next 25 years or so?
I would say in the past 17 years that I've worked in state government, intertribal government, as well as tribal government at this level, I would think that things have progressed significantly in the last 15 years. In terms of individual growth of tribal governments, when I talk about individual growth, I'm talking about the tribes have been very aggressive in improving the relationship and cooperation with state government. As a result, this particular tribe is the first in the nation to negotiate a compact with the state of Montana in terms of the adjudication and quantification of water rights. We are currently in the process of negotiating a gaming compact with the state of Montana. Overall, I think the state of Montana has been very helpful in assisting this tribe in the area of economic development and the creation of jobs basically was designed to boost the economy of northeast Montana.
My name is John Pipe. I'm presently a council member for the Fort Peck Tribes. I'm currently the youngest council member on the board, and before that I had experience with the Wolf Point Community Organization as the vice chairman of the community, also as a member of the board of directors. I'm also the great-grandson of one of the first law enforcement officers that came out of Wolf Point, whose name was Thomas Hancock. I was born and raised in Wolf Point, and I lived there all my life.
What about, what do you know about Thomas Hancock? Because I don't. I mean, this is, I'm not aware of the history.
One of the first law enforcement officers to Indian officer to work in the area of Wolf Point, control the law and order there for the town of Wolf Point.
Okay, hello, my name is Viola Bearcub Wood. I was born and raised in the Wolf Point community. My parents are Harvey and Nellie Bearcub, who are 4/4 Assiniboine Indians. I am presently the Head Start Director. We serve 200 preschool children from low-income families between the ages of 3 and 5 years old. Head Start was originally started in Wolf Point in 1965. I'd like to introduce my 2 grandsons, Kipper Stiffarm and Joshua Stiffarm.
There was a surprise attack, and we stole 2 women and a case of whiskey, and that was our demand, and the wagon train met our demand, so everything is fine. We've had our victory dance, and that's the way it goes traditionally.
You want some beans? He'll give you a cup right there. Beans.
I just did. I didn't get mine
Where do you get tickets?
100 miles an hour.
Well, I was scared today.
Were you able to follow from up on the hills up here?
Hey, let me tell you, in spite of a broken tongue, we wired it up. We crippled into camp last night. Let me tell you, it was an amazing experience.
The tongue on your wagon fell off.
No, that was the tongue in my mouth. The tongue on
That
my
was
wagon.
meant to hide, I know that.
Yeah, I didn't see they were going to watch this.
But we managed to, we had a blacksmith. Where's our blacksmith? You ought to go over and talk to him. Glenn Gravely. Is Glenn here?
Yeah, there he is over there.
Glenn, yeah, he put our tongue together. Yeah, he did an excellent job. Without him, we wouldn't have been able to make it. It was an amazing experience. I'd like to do it again next year.
And I think he enjoyed every minute of it.
He smiled through every one of them.
Somebody said somebody standing on the hill with binoculars and they seen old Bud that kind of making them
Yeah,
go
but it was
fast.
fun. It kept us entertained.
Well, did they take off then when the Indians came down?
No, they did all. Well, they did 2 or 3 of them before the Indians come, and I think one after dinner.
He was running them after they did that. But we had fun, didn't we?
Balin wire. Balin wire?
No.
No.
Grab that up.
Why didn't you have any duct tape with you?
I didn't want to duck it. I wanted to. No, it was fixed it with the balin twine and wire. But I built some bolts.
What I'd like to, you can just tell me a little history of the family and the restaurant, getting the cafe started, the little, whatever you want about that.
Okay, well,
Your dad and anything like that.
well, my father immigrated to the United States to work for the Great Northern Railroad in the late 1800s. And when he got to Montana, he had saved enough money to send for my mother, who he was engaged to. And he started the cafe in West Glacier. He moved with the railroad then, because he knew all the people in the railroad.
Dodson, to Harlem, Poplar, and finally to here. And he had a cafe in each one of those towns. And this is where we stayed. After the roundhouse closed here, this is where the family stayed. We've had four generations in the
When
cafe
did he
here.
start this cafe?
He moved into this building in 1927, but he was in the old Silverberg building over here. He moved there in 1924.
Well, I am Lyman Clayton. I am the second generation in the firm of the Clayton Memorial Chapel. The Clayton Memorial Chapel was founded in 1916 by my father and mother, Lyman Clayton and Nora Clayton. I am the second generation, and currently the establishment is being operated by my son, Lyman Clayton III, or commonly known as Skip Clayton. Let's see, his wife is close here, but maybe we'll get here in a moment or two. And two of our grandchildren are also around. They're over where they're getting the team ready right now. Well, the horse-drawn funeral coach, which you will be seeing shortly, was used by my father as the funeral coach here during the years from 1919 to 1921. In 1921, he procured his first motor vehicle. That is not the first vehicle, but the first funeral coach. And our establishment has continued to operate in 2 or 3 different positions, locations here in town, for the past 74 years.
My grandfather, Walter E. Peterson, was a Vida homesteader and later on a longtime carpenter here in Wolf Point. Purchased that pickup new in May 1949 from Rathan Schreiber Ford here in Wolf Point. After he passed away, my father got the pickup after he died, and the pickup went into my hands. So that 49 pickup, which has about 33,700 original miles, has been in our family since 1949. So it's a treasured outfit.
What's your name?
I'm Jim Peterson. I'm employed here by the Wolf Point School System.
by Ben Franklin. Welcome to Wolf Point 75th Jubilee. It's my pleasure to be able to announce the winners of this beautiful cake contest. We had 5 contestants, and as you can see from these lovely cakes, they were very hard to judge as to which was best. So it was a tough assignment for the judges, but ultimately you have to do it. So we have 2 prizes, a first prize and a second prize. We want to thank all of the contestants for all of their originality and the work they put into it. And we want to give the first prize, which is $50 of Jubilee coins here from the 75th Jubilee, to Connie Lambert. That's all. Congratulations. Now this is Connie's cake, by the way. This one right here in the end, judge number 1. And judge number 2, the prize goes to a young man named Matthew Houston. Matthew's right here. This is Matthew's cake down here on the right. And that was judge number 2, and the prize for that, Matthew, is a Wolf Point, Montana 75th Jubilee cookbook. So that you can go on. If you can make that cake, you can be the world's greatest chef. And we're here to
to do the same thing you are, and that is to recognize Roosevelt County and Wolf Point in your 75th Diamond Jubilee. And I have here with Mayor Butch Olson, I'm going to present this to the mayor in a moment. This is a proclamation, an official proclamation of the state of Montana, and it recognizes Wolf Point as being incorporated back in 1915, and it was declared a city back in 1918, and actually it goes way back, as the old-timers will tell you, back into the 1860s as a trading post. And of course it's the county seat of Roosevelt County. It's a regional business and an agricultural center. It's the gateway to the Fort Peck Reservation, as you know, and of course it hosts the great and well-known Wolf Point Stampede every year. Montanans from Wolf Point have made significant contributions to the character, prestige, and development of our state, and we recognize those people. And therefore, it's my great pleasure as governor today, on this very special day, the 14th of July, to declare this day in Montana as Wolf Point Diamond Jubilee Day, to be observed across the state of Montana in recognition of your 75th anniversary. And I'm proud to give this to you, Mayor, with our congratulations.
Thank you very much, Governor.
There you go. To my friend Matt, congratulations. How about that? Well, I'd just like to say how pleased and proud we are to be here at the 75th anniversary of this valiant community, Wolf Point. Wolf Point has had a long and a very illustrious history, and it's going through a period right now where things are not so good. It's suffered from drought the past several years, and it's still somewhat in the clutches of that, but we know that's going to change, and it'll change, and with it will change the attitude of the people here who really demonstrate, as they used to say in the movies, true grit. So it's my honor as governor to be governor during the 75th anniversary, and I know that people that view this production years from this particular day will look back and look at Wolf Point today and say they really put it all together.
Now, it's the American Cowboys on display with our colorful grand entry. Here they come. Let them know you're glad they're here. Led with the colors of the American flag with Keith Derby and the great colors of Canada and Doug Wall. The great state of Montana and Kenny Long, the Fort Peck Tribes with Terry Greyhawk, Brooklyn Rodeo, Janie McClellan, the BRCA and Renee Nygaard, Wrangler, Bobby Joe Shutt, the Dodge Truck Colors with Jill Fordina, Brewers with Laura Burns, and Copenhagen School, Pro Rodeo with Don Long, and Cowboys and Cowgirls on parade in the midst of a great celebration, celebrating the birth of a city, carved out of the wilderness 75 years ago, that has become a reference point to cowboys and cowgirls and people all over the world of the Wild West heritage, our great way of life. Tonight, we salute 75 years of living history with cowboys and cowgirls in the arena as we line up to pay tribute to the great sport of rodeo and to say a very happy 75th birthday to Wolf Point, Montana. Happy birthday. Now he's got him on the ground. We'll show it at 7 and 4. You laugh, you cry, you enjoy part of an American tradition, and that's what this is. It is more than a rodeo. It's an American tradition, the Wild Horse. The lucky team, Coca-Cola Bottling Company of Williston, North Dakota, will give $100 to the team that started in Shoot 1. It's all over. If not, the money will go to Legion Baseball. If you've got a favorite team, cheer them on right now, because these guys are having head. They are hurting right now. The guys are taking a real beating, but they're not going to quit. Cassidy Baker's team is out. Got it up and through. Slammed up there. Saddle hanging underneath. These horses are wild, and our guys are just totally confused. A tradition of a wild western frontier, the Wild Horse Stampede. This is down on the arena floor. They'll give us the official results when they come in. Look out, those horses are flying all over the arena. Come on. Let's go, Mike! Come on. starts for us tonight.
You know, thinking back in terms of later years of high-level public activity as a land commissioner, lieutenant governor, and a governor, and maybe this has been helped by the teaching at Carroll College and the university since I left the governorship. You know, I think I've come to understand that I think 90 to 95 or 97% of whatever I became in terms of both good or ill was probably in place by the time I left high school in 1943. I think we historically underestimate the environmental impact of family and community on who you are. Because the value system that you grow into, and I think this is important to understand today in terms of some of the urban inner city problems we have, that environmental situation and the values that you set then are really difficult to change, if not impossible. And you know, I remember vignettes from, you know, growing up at home. I remember that one of the guys who ran a clothing store in Wolf Point, my dad told me, just after they had settled there and got married, he was walking down the street one day and this guy was standing outside his store. And he said, "Jim," that was my dad's name, he said, "Big Jim," he said, "come on in, you need a new pair of shoes." And my dad said, "I can't afford a new pair of shoes." And this guy said, O.C. Johnson said, "You can't afford not to have a new pair of shoes, and I will get you a pair of shoes and you pay me when you can't afford it." A lot of banking was done in that way. My dad came out here, he got off the train in Wolf Point, Montana, the old town, in 1912, and he had, as he told me many, many times, a half a can of Copenhagen snus, a stuffed deer head, which we still have, and 25 cents. And he borrowed enough money to get a Rumley steam tractor and a 9-bottom plow and start breaking land out in Macomb County. You know, and he paid all those bills. I mean, what a striking contrast to the S&Ls, who used it for fun money to build themselves and their own castles instead of building their community. You know, I think it's no secret that in government, both as a cabinet member and as a governor, that the kind people said that I was fiscally conservative. Those who were not so kind said I was just plain damn cheap. But you know, I think the easiest money to spend for a bureaucrat is somebody else's money. And the most difficult thing for a governor or a department head is to make sure that that tendency doesn't get contagious and you get infected by it. But, you know, things that I was brought up were the traditions of the West. You pay your bills, you tell it like it is, not to hurt people's feelings, but so that they fully understand what the reality, my story about my history teacher who said, you've got to understand the facts and make your decision on them, and not what some wild emotional rhetoric tells you about our history or our present. And that mutual support that the Wolf Point and Tule Creek community provided is something that I still feel as strongly today as I did when I was growing up, except that when I was a kid, I didn't understand what a heck of a deal I was getting from my parents and from the people in that South School area and from Wolf Point. But later on, you know, I came to appreciate that they shaped this dumb country kid into an individual who I think in maturity began to understand the importance of fairly simple kinds of rules by which you live in life. And they not only apply to the way that you deal with your family, they apply to the way that you deal with your customers if you're in business, your employees, and with the constituents when you're in public office.